After we get into today's strategy, I'm going to tell you about one of the funniest moments on the feeds. So stay with me until the end of this video so you can check it out. But first, I woke up this morning to that noisy, spinning bed in the have-not room. It not only spins, but it clicks and clacks, making a lot of noise. I love this for the game, and I find it hilarious. And oh yeah, the veto has been won, and I have some thoughts. Hey everybody, my name is Danielle, and this is Chatter Out Loud. I love chatting about Big Brother, and during the season, that means digging into the live feeds. The televised episodes are edited to tell a story, but the feeds give us a chance to see that strategy unfold in real time. So let's talk about what stood out today, what it could mean for everyone's game, and a few things I'll be keeping my eye on. And if you want to keep up with my live feed updates, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. I plan to chat about Big Brother Season 28 all season long. Okay, current standing and positions of power. We have Rome, Chuck with no C, and Jason all won safety for the week and are free from being nominated. D is the first HOH of the season. Her nominees are Mallory, Taylor, and Yash. By the way, I have to self-correct. In my last video, I kept calling Yash Kosh. My bad. Sorry about that. Okay, so the nominees are Mallory, Taylor, and Yash. Lala hosted the veto competition today, which I'm excited to see on Wednesday's episode. Lala has a lot of energy. And drum roll, Mallory ultimately won the Power of Veto. I was so excited to see that happen. For replacement noms, after there's a veto ceremony, I'll be back to update and share if there are any changes to the nominations. I suspect there are going to be changes because Mallory will pull herself off the block, so we'll see who Dee replaces her with. And the have-nots, I was trying to figure that out in my last video, and if I have this right, the have-nots this week are Taylor, Drew, Chuck with no C, Haley, and Devins. So since the last live feeds update, one of the biggest changes I noticed is that the house is starting to divide. I don't have a full picture yet because we know this can change all season long. But what we are beginning to see are clear groups forming, and that's usually when the game really starts to take shape. It feels like Mallory, Melody, and Lyric are on one side of the house. They keep getting referred to as the trio. And if you remember in my last video, that was one of the questions I had, was trying to figure out who the trio were, who were the members in this trio. Initially, I thought one of the members were Haley. Actually, I thought it was a whole different group of people in this trio. But I'm learning now that the trio, when we hear this on the feeds, they're referring to Mallory, Melody, and Lyric. Also in my last video, I talked about Drew, Kamu, and Haley being friends. I'm now convinced they are in an alliance with D. Rome and Chuck with no C, they solidified working together. I don't know the name of their alliance quite yet. I strongly believe Devins and Drew are working together. And Haley and Lala also appear to be connected with a larger group that includes Chuck with no C and I believe Kamu. I'll be watching more for all of these alliance updates. I did my best with an attempt to map out these partnerships and connections in the game. It's on my live feeds update board, so you have to look at the screen to take a look at it to see what that exactly entails. I think it's kind of fun for the game. All right, let's talk about the social play. This morning, Mallory seems to be in a much better headspace after being nominated. We began to see that a little last night. She is getting a lot of support from Angela, and I mean a lot of pep talks and comfort, and I just find that interesting. Yesterday, I felt like Mallory was the target for the week. I still think that's true. However, it's important to note that Rome is emerging as a target. And I believe it has something to do with his budding showmance with Lyric. And I talked about that in my last live feed updates. Angela is doing all the right things socially. She's engaging with everyone, but I'm not quite ready to believe we've left the BB26 Angela behind. This afternoon, she became emotional talking about Leah from her season. The tears started coming, and it just reminded me that the old Angela is still in there. I still think it's only a matter of time before we see more of that BB26 Angela again. I don't think she'll be able to contain the real Angela. That real Angela, the BB26 Angela, is just ready to come out. And you watch what I tell you. Last night in the HOH room, Kamu and Haley had a conversation that I didn't think much of at the time, but I see a lot of people talking about it online. Looking back now, it certainly has been the beginning of something. And what do I mean? So Kamu shared details from his conversation with Rome, and that's when we learned that Rome is already being talked about as a future target. The only thing protecting him this week is his safety, right? Rome, Chuck with no C, and Jason won safety for the week. Anyway, Kamu told Rome outright, dude, you're not even safe next week unless you win HOH. Well, the reasoning behind that seems to be the growing perception that Rome and Lyric are becoming a showmance. And it's not even a perception. It's so in everyone's face and everyone knows about it. So Kamu was essentially encouraging Rome to slow things down with Lyric because it's already putting a target on his back. But what really is catching everyone's attention is how Haley is kind of responding to the Lyric and Rome showmance. She had mentioned telling Lyric, girl, you got him first. And I couldn't help but wonder if there was a little jealousy behind that comment. And I mean, that's my interpretation, and that's the interpretation of a lot of people. You know, Haley is drumming up all this drama from the Lyric and Rome romance or showmance, sorry. And, you know, that's what's happening. Ultimately, Lyric is becoming a target for Haley, I believe. And so do a lot of other people. All right, next. I feel like Melody's social capital is diminishing in the game. Not many house guests like her. I don't think she's building genuine relationships. A few house guests took notice of how fast she jumped ship when Mallory was nominated. The trio I talked about earlier, I mentioned that yesterday I was mistaken thinking that Haley was part of this trio. Anyway, the trio is actually Lyric, Melody, and Mallory. But once Mallory was put on the block, Melody began working on a plan to replace her. And what Melody is displaying is that she has no loyalty. And in my opinion, friends, these are traits of a floater. And with that said, Melody is emerging as a target in the game. And staying on Melody for a moment, I'm starting to understand why her social capital seems to be slipping, or further understand why this is happening to her. And it isn't about her being competitive, right? Everyone has the right to play their own game and to play their game the way they see fit, right? The way they think it's going to advance them. For me, it's more about how she's coming across to the other house guests. And as an example, I heard her tell Drew she was happy Mallory won the veto. But then she immediately wondered whether Mallory would quote unquote crash out if she ended up on the block again. And that comment, it just struck me as pretty cold, especially considering they're supposed to be in an alliance together, right? They're working together. And so the more I watch Melody, the more she comes across as someone who's willing to go wherever the power is. And to me, that's classic floater behavior. And I believe the house already took notice. One thing I've noticed about Taylor, we're jumping into Taylor right now. One thing I noticed about her today is that her social game is putting in the work. She's making connections all over the house. I'm happy to see that strategically she's capturing the moment and playing Big Brother. I still haven't seen her 3-point plan or whatever she called the Big Brother blowout plan. We haven't seen that yet, I don't think. But her social game, she's really doing the work there. She's campaigning for herself, hitting up all the people she has connections with. I'm happy to see this fight in her because we know as Big Brother fans, right? We know in Big Brother, you don't want to make it easy for people to send you home. You want to make them wrestle with that decision. And I just see her putting in the work and I like it. And finally, when Devins and Rome were talking, one thing kept standing out to me. Devins repeatedly reminded Rome, quote, "I keep hearing your name and you're safe," end quote. Right? Because Rome is safe for the week. He won safety. And Devins is causing alarm or alerting Rome. Like, I keep hearing your name. I keep hearing your name. I keep hearing your name. Now, maybe that's genuine concern. I doubt. But I can't help but wonder if there's a little strategy behind it. To me, it almost feels like Devins is planting the idea that he's looking out for Rome. Like, see, I'm the one giving you the information. I'm the one watching your back. And if Rome buys into that, it naturally creates a sense of loyalty. He may start thinking Devins is someone he can trust and he should protect Devins in return, right? But here's the question I'm asking. Is that loyalty actually mutual? Or is Devins simply creating an advantage for himself while keeping his own options open, right? Is this part of the Devins chaos that we are seeing emerge here? And so I'm going to be paying close attention to this relationship. It feels less like a friendship and feels more like strategic positioning. Yeah, and those are a few of my thoughts. Now, at the top of this video, I mentioned that I had to share something that was one of the funniest moments on the feeds. And thanks, by the way, if you made it this far. All right, so Dee and Lyric were talking about Ashley in the HOH room. They're trying to figure out whether this is really her personality or if she's playing it up a little, right? Ashley is very lively, we should say. She has this kind of ditzy valley girl energy. I find Ashley very entertaining. All right, so someone had asked Ashley what her favorite drink was. And she said, a vodka, cranberry, and water. And then they'd ask, well, why water? And she goes in the most valley girl voice imaginable, hydration. I thought that was the funniest moment. And Lyrics, just her impression of Ashley, it just cracked me up. And so I thought I'd share that. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Or maybe you saw that on the feeds. So you have to let me know in the comment. Okay, that's all I have. I'll be back with another live feed update after the veto ceremony, where I'm pretty positive that Mallory will use the veto on herself, and so Dee will be forced to nominate someone else. And the veto ceremony should take place sometime on Monday afternoon, and I'll try to record a video, a live feed updates, and share that with you later on Monday evening. Are you watching the live feeds? Let me know your thoughts in a comment below. All right. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.